when you detect the photon, you're firing the crossbow and sending the crossbow into the nerve system to send a signal to the brain. But the cells in the retinal cells in your eye are far richer in mitochondria than any other cells in your body, and also they use energy all the time for reloading themselves, even in dim lighting. So they're very very demanding of well operating mitochondria, and so the eye is a sensitive metric of failing mitochondrial function. And this was driving the work on early stage macular degeneration, where you could slow the macular degeneration as long as it hadn't progressed too far. You could slow it by shining this infrared light, or red or infrared light, into the eyes. This infrared light will get into your eyes without going through the pupil, of course. It'll shine in sideways. It's the reason we can't see in the infrared. We couldn't build an eye. We couldn't build an eye which was opaque enough to make a camera, because it gets in through the eyeball, no trouble at all.
Yeah.
So the retina is irradiated by this, certainly by the longer wavelength, the longer near infrared wavelengths, around a micron or so. The light gets through the whole eyeball, so it's rich in infrared light, which increases mitochondrial function. It doesn't have to go through the pupil at all. So I think the message is to make use of natural infrared light, because the kind of infrared light we're getting there, we've adapted to, and there are factors in that which are different from the artificial lighting that we use. I mean, the light coming from the sun has the water absorptions in it from the atmosphere. So there are some of the infrared wavelengths in the sun are much brighter than others. There are these windows in the sun. We're very familiar with them in astronomy because we use these windows to observe from the ground in the infrared. And we can't observe in the water bands in the infrared. So we have distinct bands in astronomy that we can use to look at the sky in the infrared.
So to put it simply, the light from the sun, near infrared light, is never going to be identical to something that you can generate in your home from a bulb or from a red light device or whatever.
We can generate infrared light, which is right up there with the brightness of the sun, in a lamp like this. Now, this lamp is roughly as bright as sunlight at 1.5 microns. Oh, it's very much weaker what I can see with my eye, many times weaker. But if I look at this at in the infrared, it's quite a lot brighter.
And do you just have that on all the time when you're in your study?
Pretty much all the time when I don't get sunlight shining through the window. My window is not infrared absorbing, so I can get some light from the outside. But yes, I have it on. And I don't have these everywhere. I don't have them in hallways and in bathrooms and so on, because you're not there very long. We use LEDs for those. But in the kitchen, I have LEDs and tungsten filaments. In the bedrooms, we have them as bedside lamps. We have tungsten filaments, and I also use them for reading in the sitting room.
Yeah. But I mean, based on what you've told me about what's coming from the sun, what's being reflected and absorbed in the atmosphere, the reflection that comes from vegetation, it wasn't as if back in the day humans were only getting near-infrared exposure the first hour and the last hour of the day when the sun was low. They would have been getting a lot more throughout the day.
Yeah, fine. And this was realized, of course. I mean, Florence Nightingale realized quite clearly that people healed much more quickly in daylight. And she said the first thing is fresh air, the second thing is sunlight. That was 100 years ago. And we've forgotten this. Hospitals used to be built with terraces where you could wheel people out into sunlight.
Yeah.
Listen to Roger Schwelt talking about the people he's put out in sunlight, in COVID and with other diseases. I mean, it's so obvious that it works superbly well. You look at photographs of masses of people in the 20s and the 30s. You don't see obesity. Type 2 diabetes was not a common disease then. it's changed dramatically. The types of diseases we're suffering have changed dramatically in the last decades. And I think this is due to the light environment.
Yeah. You think a substantial fraction of the metabolic disease that we've seen unfold over the last century, including obesity and diabetes, could be in large part because energy metabolism in our mitochondria is less efficient because we're no longer in the optimal light environment.
Yes. It's not the only contributor.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's the only contributor, but I think
it's a major contributor and an overlooked one.
Yeah. Well, it's less overlooked now. I mean, people are listening.
It's starting to change. Yeah. You can really tell the last couple of years.
Architects are listening to us. Lighting designers are listening to us because they love it. They hate LEDs because they create awful light environments. People don't like them.
Right.
And so, you know, if you're a high-end light designer, you'll be very happy to be able to use infrared-friendly light bulbs.
Yeah.
So, and the architects, of course, are worried that they're going to be accused of building toxic buildings, which they are. You know, take the occurrence of type 2 diabetes in Saudi Arabia for the people who live in the skyscrapers there is currently around 36%.